right, here we are. Happy Sunday, everybody. It is 1:24. Thank you for joining me this Sunday. It is the conservation conversation. Conservation is one of the most important things we can talk about, and I love that we get together every week and talk about it. Now, what I'm going to do real fast is go tell all of my friends on Facebook where to find me right now. So, we have been trying for a little while to get everything kind of mixed between the two. Anyway, here we are on YouTube. So, post to Facebook. Okay, there we are. So hopefully our friends will be able to come join us over here on YouTube. So, okay, let's see here, everybody. So, welcome back. This is episode 15 of the Conservation Conversation. I'm your host, Eric Crown. For those of you who don't know me and those that do know me, well, you already know that. Anyway, hello. Hey, Andrea. Are you able to see me here on my... Let's see. Hopefully you're going to be able to visit, and here we go. Okay, fantastic. So Andrea's watching. Great. Thank you for being here today. And oh, I see you're watching on YouTube. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm going to give everybody one quick second here to, you know what we're going to do? Why don't we do this on YouTube? We're going to say hi to all of our friends that are live on Facebook. So let's do this. There we go. All right. So today we are going to talk about ecotourism. You know, there is a lot of issues with ecotourism. Okay, Andrea, I see you are the only one so far that is joining me. I'm going to have to hang with me real fast. Let's go ahead and do a live video. All right. Here we go. Live video. Doing a live video on a live video. So, hey everybody, happy Sunday. This is Eric talking about the conservation conversation. Today, I found out that I'm having an inability to be able to stream on Facebook after the most recent censorship event. I didn't realize it until today. So please come join me on my YouTube channel. I am here live right now. We're actually making this call on the show, and I see a couple people joining us. Come on in, say hi. We're going to put your comments on the screen like usual. Everything is normal as usual. Hey, Colleen. Hey, Mitch. Hey, Barbara. Happy Sunday. And again, yeah, for whatever reason, they're not allowing my stream and my show to attach anymore to Facebook. So I encourage everybody, if you can, I put the link up here. Go ahead and click it. Hop over to YouTube. Once you get onto YouTube, I'll be able to get your interactions. And what I'm going to do is, I'll keep this one live as well. You just won't be able to see the videos. So I do encourage you, if you guys can, please hop on over. Thank you, Barbara. I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes before we start. So I just wanted to say happy Sunday at first. You know what? While we're actually waiting for everybody to transition over, what I'm interested in finding out is how your Sunday's going. What are you guys up to? It's Sunday. Hey, Tabitha. Tabitha is an old friend from high school back in Maryland. Grew up together. So thanks for joining us today. And I really appreciate it, you know, because today is about ecotourism. And the problem is that it's become a very popular term, right? Ecotourism. But what does it mean? Where really are the ecotourist places? Are certain sanctuaries really ecotourism? Have things been greenwashed? So a lot of people that are very conscious want to expose their children and want to expose, you know, to more important, you know, they want to expose everybody to nature, but how do you do it appropriately? It's very difficult to navigate, and we have a couple good tricks today. So, hey, Colleen is over here on YouTube. Hey, Michelle, hey, nice to see you. Michelle is another great activist down in Florida. And again, if, oh, David, hey, David Reynolds. Grew up with David. He's been one of my closest friends for maybe 20 years now. It's good to see you here. Hey, welcome back, Michelle. Yes, if you guys can, please go over to my YouTube channel because I'm not able to attach my show to to Facebook. So it's a little bit difficult, but please go ahead and click on the link. I would love to see everybody join me over there because, like, for example, right now, if you're not on YouTube, you're not going to see my nifty opening that I made to join to try to show everybody. Hey, Barbara. Barbara's now on YouTube. So today we're starting off very differently. And there's Claire from New Zealand. Hey, Claire. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining today. This is really great to see so many familiar names and faces because, you know, the thing is I've always been blessed to be surrounded by really great people in my life. And the beauty of that is that everyone's been very conscious and very caring and very kind. Hey, Coralie, there's another amazing activist and another person with a gigantic heart. And so I feel blessed, you know, because in my life, kindness and generosity and all of this has really come together and made my life so enhanced that it's brought me to where I am today. Hey, Camilla's watching. Hey, Coralie. So without further ado, please, everybody, if you can, hop over to YouTube. I'm about to put on the opening, and then we're going to jump right in it. And anyway, I look forward to catching up with you guys. I will take your comments from both sides, although I don't know how long Facebook's going to let me go on. And believe me, you're going to want to see some of these videos I have lined up for today, because today's a very personal show. We tend to have guests. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about, you know, ecotourism is something I didn't really consider until I was in Peru. And what I saw changed me forever. And I want to share very personal experiences with you guys today about what we're talking about, and also about how to check and find out when you're finding a performative activist, somebody that's taking some selfies and not doing any good. Hey, Hannah, thanks for joining today. I was just explaining to everybody that I'm having an issue on Facebook, but if you can go over to my YouTube channel, you will be able to watch all the videos and see all of the additional images and everything else. We're trying to phase from Facebook to YouTube, and oddly enough, Facebook's not letting me connect my show with all my information. To see you. So, okay, everybody, here we go, and welcome back to the Conservation Conversation. If you don't know me or you're just joining, I'm your host, Eric Crown. If you're a friend of mine or you've been here since the beginning, welcome back. You know, it's great because I'm seeing a huge audience build over this. And we're finding that as time goes on, all of us need to talk more and more and more about what's happening in the world around us. And as I always say, it's our world. Let's talk about it. All right, here we are. We're back now, and it's good to see everybody. There's Colleen and Barbara and Andrea, and there's Weekend. Hey, that's Mitch, another amazing activist. So guys, today we have a very incredible topic. It's a topic very dear to my heart, and I think it's very dear to everyone's heart that's here, because, you know, we all want to find ways to balance how we expose our children and how we expose people to nature and the connection to the world around it. But before we even get into that, and I'm sorry I'm running late today. Thank you, everybody. Hey, Jesse. All right. Dr. Schwartz joining us from the great PNW. And Jesse, please feel free to chime in anytime, because I know you have a lot of experience with this. First thing, though, I want to ask you guys, what are you reading? If you're reading anything interesting that has to do with conservation, or you just want to share with us, you know, we are our own resources. Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. Hold on. We are our own each other's resources. So it's important, you know, to see what everybody's doing. I'm looking at Waging Nonviolent Struggle by Gene Sharp. Now, this book, if you Google this book, you will find this book has been at the heart of many revolutions around the world and has actually brought about change. And as somebody that feels we need to make a big change, I feel we need to do it in a way that doesn't only lead by thought example, but leads by physical example. So this is the book that I've been reading. It's very hard to get. I only have a copy of it because my roommate has it. And that's it. So anyway, I would love to know what you guys are reading. Put it down in the comments. Please jump over to the YouTube channel if you can. You'll find the link on my Facebook page here. If you can jump over to the YouTube channel, we have a lot of visuals that I'd like to add, and I would like to have everybody come over, but I don't want anybody to disappear. Hey, Beth, thanks for joining us today. Hey, Kim, I'm glad you're here. Jesse, what's up? Jesse, yeah. It's good to see you on here, man. Jesse works. He's great because he works in conservation, but also in science, and that's where we have to find these balances of everything. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about finding balance because the world around us, for far too long, has been treated as a resource, something that we need to exploit. So, all right, what we're going to talk about now, it's very difficult because there is ecotourism. There's ecotourism that pretends to be ecotourism. There are people that are leaders in certain environmental movements that do not practice what they preach. And it's not my job to discuss those individuals, but what I'd like to do is give you guys some samples of how you can manage to discover if the place is really ecotourism or not. Because I know that when you go on vacation, you're spending your dollars, you want to spend it in kindness and love, and sometimes you're getting tricked. So, hey, Eric, nice to see you. Awesome name, of course. So my name, Eric, as I understand it, may as well share this with everybody. My name doesn't come from the family. My name actually comes from these little cigarettes called ERIK back in the 70s. And when I was born, my parents had a hard time determining my name and agreeing on what name to name me. So evidently after I was born, they decided, they settled on the name Eric, ERIK. So there we have it. And that's my name. That's where we're at. So let's start off today. Now, what I wanted to do is, because we are talking about ecotourism and greenwashing, we are talking about animal exploitation. And this is a huge topic. But what I'd like to do today is start a quote. If you really care about animals, then stop trying to figure out how to exploit them compassionately. Just stop exploiting them. And that is Gary L. Francione. Now, if you're not familiar with Gary is a very fascinating character. Gary is somebody who actually started bringing law into animal rights, and he's, I believe, at Rutgers. Let me double check. So yeah, he's a scholar, and he is Rutgers School of Law. So what he's done is he's come up with the abolitionist theory of animal rights, arguing that the welfare regulation is just not going to work. That we need to rethink this entire thing. He's a very interesting character, somewhat controversial in animal rights, but overall, I think, in my opinion, if you're not familiar with him, please go ahead and check him out. I will put his name back up as well. I'll put a link to it. His work is fascinating because we have to remember that there's always legal frameworks in which we have to deal with this animal exploitation. So anyway, he is somebody who's fascinating, and his belief is that let's just stop this exploitation all around. They're not there for us to exploit. So I think that's a way to go. So anyway, what I want to start today is at the heart of the problem of what we're going to be talking about today, which is what do we do about ecotourism, comes to a lot of us Westerners, actually. We are people that we see some celebrities having selfies, right? And we want to go have that. We see these cute animals and we want to go pet them. We want to hold sloths. We want to be near all these really cute things. As a matter of fact, cuteness affects us physically. And if you don't know about this, I have to tell you about cute aggression. So cute aggression is a state where you physically are like, oh, it's so cute, I just want to squeeze that. You know, and it happens with babies and really cute animals. And of course, you mean no harm. Hey, Scott, thank you for joining. Scott, if there's any way to click onto my YouTube channel, you're going to see better video. Anyway, we're talking about cute aggression, which I think is... It's at the base of what we're talking about. We're talking about ecotourism and the fact that we all want to hold sloths and baby monkeys, and this is the cutest stuff in the world. And it comes from an actual thing. I swear to you guys, Google it, cute aggression. It's a hilarious term, but yeah, it's what makes you want to squeeze cute things and just be like, ugh. And it's pretty funny, the Wikipedia thing. I should read it to you guys. The Wikipedia thing says that cute aggression is superficially aggressive behavior caused by seeing something cute, such as a baby human or young animal. People experiencing cute aggression may grit their teeth, clench their fists, or feel the urge to pinch and squeeze something they consider cute while not actually causing or intending to cause any harm. So let's just put that out there as well. Anyway, I wanted to talk about cute aggression because cute aggression is the way to go. Hey, Vicky, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, okay, now this is a big problem because a lot of times we don't have the education. Now, we have seen recently that there's been a move, for example, in circuses to remove a lot of the rights of circuses. In the US, there are 7 states and 149 other localities, which are cities, towns, and counties in 39 other states that have passed restrictions or bans involving the use of wild animals in circuses. If you guys can't see this, please come over to my YouTube channel and you will see these beautiful visuals that handcrafted visuals made for the podcast. Now, the other thing that's important to know is in 2019, New Jersey and Hawaii passed statewide laws banning the use of all wild animals in circuses. Okay, so this is important to know because the circus is one of the first encounters we have with animals, and it's one of this oldest way of thinking that is no longer, obviously, it's no longer valuable or valid. We know that the elephants suffer. We know that everyone suffers. So what that brings me to is, let's start with ecotourism itself. Ecotourism is described, this is the actual definition of it. And again, if you're on my YouTube, you'll be able to see these visuals. The International Ecotourism Society describes ecotourism as responsible travel to natural areas that conserves the environment, sustains the well-being of local people, and involves interpretation and education. So when I was traveling, for example, in Peru, we found a lot of fake ecotourism areas. So these are basically what they are considered as sanctuaries. Now, this is where it starts to get very tricky because you have ecotourism, and ecotourism is very popular now. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, this means things like taking selfies with tigers. This is very disturbing. There are other aspects of it, and we are going to get into this. But first, what I want to do is actually play you guys a video that we made in Peru with a little bit of some ecotourism issues that we found over there. And what happens is a lot of places will pretend to be sanctuaries for animals. And what they'll do is they will, where am I? Let me come back. What they'll do is they will say, look, we have these injured animals, we're bringing them in and we're going to take care of them. Now, this is very difficult because how to delineate it is very tricky. There's a loophole in the law where all of this comes from. What happens is if you are a fisherman, for example, and again, let's go back to Peru, and you find an endangered animal like a manatee, or you kill the mother and the baby is left, your legal responsibility is to drop it off at a sanctuary. And only zoos or sanctuaries are allowed to take in endangered, injured, or animals that can't be on their own. What happens then is they breed them. And this is where it starts to get tricky because they will claim that breeding them is the way to bring them and keep them sustained. Then what you have are sales of the animals. Now, we're not going to play this particular video today, but I'm going to show you guys some ecotourism stuff that we did find in Peru because I want you to see how harmless it looks and how nice it looks. As a matter of fact, the guy that's talking to us in this video, this guy is wearing a official ecotourism t-shirt, and he's trying to sell us tours to go to places that are not animal sanctuaries. One of the biggest clues that you can find is most animal sanctuaries that are actually taking care of animals don't allow human and animal interaction. That's the first clue, and it's unfortunate because a lot of us want to have a natural thing. Now, this means direct interaction. There are giant safari parks and the rangers, and you drive through them and there's no interaction with the animals. Those are very different than what I'm talking about right now. So if you guys have any examples of places that are problematic, please let us know and put them down there because we're going to talk about a few today. Obviously, we all know about SeaWorld, but But we'll get into all that in a few minutes. First, I just want to talk about the concept of ecotourism. And again, it's the problem that you think you're giving dollars over to where they're going to preserve animals, but then they're not. So to bring it back to the manatees, what happened in Peru is the fisherman kills the mom. They feed the village. They take the baby to the sanctuary. The sanctuary is actually in partnership with a zoo in Dallas. They get all this feed and stuff. Then what they do is, and we know this because we arranged a off-the-books sale with them, they would have sold us a manatee for a few $1,000s. And that manatee they would basically release anywhere we requested. Now that doesn't sound harmful, but please keep in mind, the trick to this is that the problem with this is that a lot of times villages will buy the manatees, drop it off somewhere where the village has access to kill it, and then eat it and use it as a resource. So it's a loophole. The other loophole, again, is that injured or orphaned animals have to by law go to a sanctuary of some sort. So it's very tricky. Now, there are great sanctuaries out there. I had the good fortune in Cambodia of going to a sanctuary run by my friend Daniel Roper Jones, who I completely, I'm going to put the link down to his thing down there. If you guys are ever in Cambodia and you need to know what's happening, go out there. And what he told me is, like, for example, they have a lot of monkeys, and this is a problem. What happens is people go to these terrible sanctuaries and they start to interact with these monkeys, and then the monkeys get used to the people, and then they can't fend on their own. And then what will happen is people will find them wandering and take them to monks in, for example, in Siem Reap, Cambodia. And then the monks don't know what to do, so they take them to the sanctuary, and the sanctuary takes care of them. We're creating our own problem. We want the animals in our reach. You know, we have to remember that we are. This is nature. This is wild nature. Not everything can be at our fingertips. Not everything needs to be accessible. You know, I mean, maybe the only way we should be able to see orcas instead of tour boats is through some amazing documentaries that are done environmentally consciously with minimal invasive. For example, if you go out on a whale watching boat, these whale watching boats get very close to the whales. They disturb things. They actually cause a lot of stress to the whales. If you go and you have a selfie touching a selfie touching a sloth can actually cause so much physical harm that the sloth dies later on. This is true. This is true. But even before we get into the irresponsibility of certain celebrities and the irresponsibility of the Western need for animals within our reach as our form of entertainment, which luckily the circus and stuff is going now, if you guys please jump over to the, come on and jump over to the YouTube channel, and I'm going to show you a quick video on ecotourism that was shot down in Iquitos, Peru.
Tourists that come here and play with a sloth and play with an anaconda, they are fueling the wildlife trade in the Amazon. The sloth, isn't it?
No, this is the Animal Rescue Center. It's called Paradise of the Amazon River. This is visited for different tourist companies because this is not a zoo. Here you're going to have contact with some animals, with the sloths. This sloth is the Peruvian koala.
Where do the sloths come from?
This is from here, from Peru.
Oh, yeah.
From the jungle. But these animals are rescued from the black market. Belém is the capital of the black market, the famous anaconda. In this place there is a jaguar. With the jaguar you're not going to have contact because this is wild. They are in cage. You're going to take pictures.
From the market?
No. To get is too expensive because when they are babies, you can to have in your house like a pet. But keep growing more is more dangerous. We call in the Peruvian jungle otorongo. Otorongo. Many that has good money right now in the black market. They come here to get 1 teeth, 2 teeth because that's good money. You understand?
All right. Hello, everybody. So we are now going to talk about some specific examples. Now, that was ecotourism. Now, that looked like a very good sanctuary. It looked like a very good idea, a very good place to be, right? But It wasn't. And this guy was official. Now, what we found out later was that guy's t-shirt. So the tourism industry says, listen, we need green places. What are we going to do? Well, here, we're going to put this guy out there and he's going to go around with his notebook and send tours to this place. Now, these sanctuary, these animals, this is stressing them out to have this. Hey, Larissa. Sorry, Larissa just said hi, everybody. And by the way, Larissa is an amazing singer. If you can, go check out Lady Larissa. Beautiful music. Yeah, and somebody I knew through conservation, but actually has a whole other talent of singing. And career has just been taken off. So, and hey, Heather. Heather's here. Heather's another water activist. So what I want to talk about is, let's talk about, again, we're going to go back to cute aggression. We're going to go back to the fact that we want these adorable animals in our lives. We want to have selfies with them. We want to pet them. But a lot of people don't understand the true danger and the true cost of what happens when you have these animals like this, these animals. So what I want to do is show you a couple examples of the problems that we face. So obviously this one here is a problem. What they do is they actually will drug these tigers and lions so that people can sit next to them. This is really messed up. Hey, Sherry, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today. This is a very important topic. This is something very close to my heart. I'm going to tell you guys a personal story of why. It's coming up in about 10 minutes. Hey, Cody, nice to see you. So yeah, this is very bad, guys. So, this whole sense of the tiger selfie is problematic. Now, the next problematic cute thing that we have to deal with when we talk about cute aggression is the monkeys, right? We all want some monkey selfies. Now, the problem is these monkey selfies tend to be places where they will, let me put myself back on here. What they'll do is actually this is the end of a trail for a lot of these animals. These animals are not found, and then luckily everybody gets to go visit them. Like, wow, how amazingly convenient is that? No, the truth of it is that a lot of times this is the end of the road for these poor animals. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But the problem is that we have a lot of celebrities. Now, the one we just showed is actually a well-known vegan. And the problem is that he's considered a voice for the animals, but he's making money in a photo right there that was exploiting animals. And this is what I wanted to talk about. Performative activism is very difficult. This is something else we need to think about. There's a lot of groups out there that are doing a lot of good. There's a lot of groups that try their hardest. There's a lot of activists that fight for animal rights. But going and taking selfies is not fighting for animals. I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff that I did with down in Peru that will show you a little bit more of what it's like to actually fight for animals. But selfies with animals it's a new craze, and it's something that's happening now. For example, if somebody like Direct Action Everywhere, if you watch them, they're amazing. They take their cameras into crazy places, but what they do is then stop the production, or they remove the animals from the situation. So it's actually this amazing action film. If you guys have never watched Direct Action campaign, watch a Direct Action campaign. They're incredible. They will take their cameras into the craziest places for animal rights. And what it's led to is it's led to them being able to make legal challenges so that the animals, what's called right to rescue, DXE, Direct Action Everywhere. I highly encourage check them out. That's a different form of an animal selfie. Now, when it comes to the fuzzy animals, it's more complicated. But then, we got to talk about SeaWorld. We got to talk about, we all know what's going on with the orcas. We know what is happening down there. And there are very passionate, devoted people like the Orca Network and others that are down there fighting to keep animals out of situations where they are being exploited. Now, recently, through another environmental group, I found some pictures that I thought were really crazy. And I found out that a lot of you may remember the story where the Russians were grabbing these belugas which are endangered, and selling them to different aquariums around the U.S. They were trying to sell one to the Georgia aquarium, and people just were up in arms. I mean, the idea of taking something as exotic as a beluga and bringing it in is a crazy idea, and there's no reason for it. And again, we have to remember that a lot of these things that are considered sanctuaries are actually exploitative things. And so this is one of them. This is called the Shed Aquarium. I don't know how this came about, but look at this. If you pay like $50, you can have this poor, distressed animal bring you a happy birthday thing. If you guys can't see this, it's all on YouTube. Please feel free to switch over. Or you can give the beluga a high five and make the beluga do tricks for you. And again, one of the earmarks of true sanctuaries is you do not have direct contact with animals. It is the last thing any animal needs. So zoos. Now, zoos are a very complicated topic because many zoos do have fantastic rescue and release programs. And if there is an endangered animal, it's possible. But I personally am not a fan of zoos. I know some people that are fans of zoos. What I want to say about zoos is that, you know, do your homework. Go to their websites and look and see if they are part of a globally, you know, a sustainable group. If they are, you know, what their reputation is. They all will have this type of, you know, type of a thing. So, and, you know, okay, so now I just want to show you guys, there's a few more reasons that we have the problem with these selfies. And again, I wanted to go back to the fact that what we're looking at here is irresponsibility and Western, you know, causes. I mean, look, here's Pink doing a selfie with the dolphin. Come on, you know, I mean, give me a break. And you know, they don't just do this. Like, this is sponsored and paid for. And this is Katy Perry with a little. I mean, again, cute aggression, right? The cutest little thing in the world. Like, you know, I mean, so cute. So, yeah, and then let's see. All right. Now, the biggest problem when it comes to ones like Justin Bieber had a pet monkey. It was a big issue. Now, again, we are going to now go talk about this pet monkey thing because I want to share with you guys a personal experience that changed my life forever and changed my view on how sanctuaries run and how animal areas run. And now for the very last photo on YouTube, I just want to show you the traditional sloth selfie. It's nobody's a bad person for wanting one. It's just that you got to know that when you touch them, it causes them so much stress. If you're ever thinking of going to a sanctuary, go to websites, Google them, type in eco, type in greenwashing. Greenwashing is a term that is used where they make things appear that they're actually eco-based, but they're not. So you have to know that many things are greenwashed. For example, that video clip you guys watched of us in Peru, that was greenwashed, right? That guy was like completely greenwashing the whole thing. So it's very, very important to be aware. Now, again, I'm not here to say that everything is a scam or whatever. You know, there are really good sanctuaries. The problem is most of them you'll never know about because most of them do not allow access. Or you can get private lessons. Or if they have private lessons, they also have private classes because they'll teach many of these groups. Now, how do you know that the group that you're interested in is a good group or not? This is another total issue that we need to discuss. Now, here's a few simple, basic rules. Number one, if you go to their website, do they have outreach programs? Do they have resources for you? If they are really active, if you go to fightforzero.org, you will find so many resources. That's a great group. If you go to the Rights of Nature, if you go to Yes We Can, if you go to multiple various websites, you will find that they offer solutions. If you're looking at an NGO, what is the NGO doing? Are they active? Are they in the water? Are they on land? Are they fighting? How are they fighting back? What's the philosophy behind it? You have to get to know the people. We can't base it on these selfies. You know, the guy that I showed you guys that has a monkey selfie that's exploiting monkeys, he's got a Patreon account, and he's asking for donations, and he's making money. And he's making money off the exploitation of animals, which is the opposite of what he's trying to do. Whether that's an unintended consequence or not, it's up to us, the consumers, us, the people that donate money to causes, to really vet the people that we want to give money to. NGOs are more difficult. You just have to look at their track record. You know, what are they doing? What's going on? And each one has its own way. Now, there's also, if you're going to go traveling and you want to make sure that everything is fine, and I will put this in there, but I wanted to show you guys, there's a fantastic website, and it's the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. And what they do is they will actually, you can go in and click around, and they will help you determine because the laws are, basically every country has its own sustainability ratings. So it's not like we have an international rating system where we can just go, oh, it's green or it's not green. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You have to kind of know each one, but instead you just go to the gstcouncil.org, Global Sustainable Tourism Council. And they have a series of recognized eco-friendly, sustainable, guaranteed tourism seals. And then you can see if your country has that seal, because you can't just go to the country and hope that they'll be honest with you. You guys saw the guy in Peru. He works for they're just trying to make money. You know, tourism's a hustle. Ecotourism is a new hustle. Greenwashing is a big hustle. But there are legitimate things out there, and I don't want to scare anybody off from being part of a good, legitimate organization or something to do. Look, we all have our parts. You know, I was fortunate. I got to go shut down illegal fishing. I got to stop illegal pet trade firsthand in the field. Some people, their role in conservation is to donate money, and we all need to work together. Some people are to share memes. Some people are to start conversations. All of us have a role. None of us are the answer. We are the answer. And it's something to really keep in mind, because there are so many aspects to this. And I don't bring up these other activists to try to slam them down. But what I'm saying is, they're activists. They've put themselves out there and said, guys, look at me. I'm an example of how to be. And then children see them posing with captive animals. Are you kidding me? This is not the example we need to give. And I'm sorry, I'm not here to judge, but I get very passionate about it. And I'm about to share with you guys why. Because firsthand, my life changed forever when we ran across some poaching. Now, I'm not going to show you guys anything disgusting, I promise. I've edited this down so that it's not going to be disgusting. But before we even get into the animal poaching, let's take a look here real quick. Jesse Schwartz says, when breeding for conservation, some animals need contact, and humans have to replace that contact. But programs that are doing that correctly all have certifications through international programs. And Jesse, I see what you're saying. Do me a favor, if you could clarify. I think I was talking about the contact with the public. Were you talking about, for example, monkeys that need petting and holding? Or were you talking about they need social interaction with tourists? I would be curious if you're still here to clear that up for me. Jesse worked in conservation, and he'll have some good answers for us here. Absolute, Camille. Little tongue-tied today, everybody. Sorry, it's a very personal topic for me, and I'm just very excited that we're here talking about it. So we are now going to talk about, Camilla says, this is equal to circus entertainment, wild animals being used to entertain. Exactly. Vile, mindless humans. And, again, we need to bring it back to the fact that the people that are exploiting the animals are filling a gap for the money. I mean, these are places where they can barely live. These are places where people earn $2 to $6 a day. These are places where people live in abject poverty like we don't understand. And here we are, rich Westerners saying, entertain me with your animals, and, asking for exotic pets. We We're the only way we can stop it. And the only way we can stop this is every time you guys on Facebook see a monkey being humanized. Remember, Jane Goodall talked about, there was that monkey that used the iPhone video, and Jane Goodall put out a huge warning about that. We cannot think these things are cute and accept these. These are unnatural. We need to stop this. We need to stop putting them in this situation and exploiting animals for our own thing. And I'm not talking about like cute cat videos and stuff on YouTube, or on Facebook. Like, come on, we all love that. When I used to work in programming, they said that, the internet was built for cat videos. So here we are. Hey, Michelle Desnold. Hey, an old friend from back home. It's really good to see you on here. Thanks for being here. And hey, Heather, nice to have you here today. Cute aggression. Yes, Joanna has the face there. If you guys all want to type in some comments for my friends that are joining on Facebook going, what is this guy talking about? There's a link on my Facebook to my YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel will have the videos, because what I want to do is share with you guys now a very personal story, okay? And this is why this is really important to me. Well, all right. First, what I want to do is just to put you guys in the setting. I want to talk about, again, I want to come back to these monkey selfies, and I want to come back to pet monkeys in general. Pet monkeys are, okay, even before we start. Sorry, Jesse says, correct. Some animals need human contact when being captively bred for conservation. That's different than having a circus or believe that everyone deserves a chance to hug a wild gorilla. Okay, so there we go. Jesse brought up a very good point. Made a great point that I think we should distinguish this so that there's no confusion over talking about it. But animals should not have direct one-on-one interaction with the public, although they may need interaction with animal trainers or people that can help them, vets, for example. And again, I'm not here to determine what programs are working or not. Obviously, we know that SeaWorld is not helping the orcas. Good luck convincing me that Shed Aquarium is helping those belugas. I read somewhere that they were partnered with Patagonia, and I reached out to Patagonia, who refused to comment on Shed Aquarium. So please let Shed Aquarium know what's happening. There are belugas that should be living in Russia that are in the middle of Chicago. They have the same similar amount of snow, but give me a break. Hey Earl, thanks for joining today. Anyway, everybody, this is what I want to talk about. We went down to Peru and had the good fortune of going way up the river. And what I want to share with you all now is a small video that I made where what we do is we found the monkey trade. Now, why I want to show you guys this is because the monkey trade it comes from a variety of sources, one of them being illegal logging. Now, there are many aspects people don't think about. There's illegal logging, and what'll happen is they'll get to the illegal logging, they will find monkeys, they will shoot them. They will eat the parents, and they will enslave and sell the daughters. So, and sons. I mean, anyway, you're going to see it. I'm going to show you guys firsthand. Again, I have slightly re-edited these. You can see the full videos over at Earth Race. And what I want to do is show you guys real fast how we were able to catch these monkeys and to give you an idea of where your pet monkeys come from. Because every time you see a pet monkey thing, I want you guys to think about this. And then I'm going to explain how they train these monkeys. And then we're going to talk about a few other things. But anyway, guys, this video is about 2 minutes long. Check it out. I'll be right back. I want to let you know that there's nothing too gross on it. So I've cut it down. You're not going to be assaulted with negative images. The idea here is to find ways to change and to address the problems in a positive fashion. So we're going to talk a little bit about the unintended consequences here and the far-reaching ramifications of our wants for these sloth selfies and these pet monkeys, and then we're going to bring it into solutions and find ways to attack it and change it because we have the power as consumers. But first, let's go a little dark. I'll be right back. Here we go.
We've been wondering how to go targeting these people who are... We know there's wildlife being shot out in the jungle here and taken into Rakina and Iquitos. And it's going in by boat. There's no other way for it to be transported in. But these little wee boats that the poachers use, those aren't big enough to go all the way to Rakina. One of the ideas I had was to put under surveillance these transport boats that bring like food and supplies and that into here, and some of them I reckon will be taking stuff back. Now we know there's what they call the yellow boat, comes into this corner on Friday morning. And so we're just setting up at what's called an OP or observation point here. Anyway, I'm going to get kitted up and I will come back to you shortly. I see Eric has his poncho on. He's very exposed. Check him out. That is Eric in his poncho. if you're wondering what I'm laughing at. So it was kind of random who got which side. But poor old Eric, it's pissing with rain. I got this beautiful big tree sitting above me and barely getting a drop on me. I shouldn't be laughing. Just coincidence I ended up on this side, really. So I can hear a boat off in the distance. So we have another boat coming in. It's a peka with 4 people on board. Eric, copy 7-2 over.
Copy.
Hey Eric, can you see what that kid has got on the back of the boat? There's a little kid on that little wee boat running around with something. It looks animal-like. Just wondering if you've got a view of that, over.
Copy, I'm going in with the long lens to check.
Copy that.
Yeah, copy. They're blocking most of my view, but I've almost got a picture with the kid.
Oh, it's a tourist one.
Can't quite tell, but that little kid appears to be holding what looks like a baby monkey.
A baby monkey? Oh shit.
They're spotting a couple dead monkeys on the boat as well.
Okay, we're back. That was the video, guys. That was the video of how you see how these things are treated. Those were the bodies of some of the parents. Now, the reason that I wanted to show you this is to start you off, because now I want to show you why my life changed forever and how this has affected my sensitivity towards these horrible monkey and enslaved animal selfies. Captured animal selfies should not be happening. It's barbaric. It's outdated. We don't need it. Let me explain this next piece of video to you guys, and then we're going to talk about how we can fight back as consumers, because we are what we have here. So this video is, I was using an undercover camera in my glasses, and this is a baby. Now they've killed the parents, and what they do is you see he's tied to the tree, and there he is, and he was asking for help, and I couldn't do anything, and those are the parents. What they do is each bodies are about $7, and they boil the parents underneath of the baby, and the steam, that's one of the poachers, the steam calms the baby and makes the baby more available to go to market and serve as a pet. And I was sitting there like 5 feet from this baby, and he's tied to this tree, and he's begging for help, and he's terrified, and it's the worst infringement of human to animal I've ever seen. And if you're on YouTube, you can see those eyes. Now, the reason I showed that video is That's the reality, okay? That's the reality of it. The reality is it comes down to money and markets and us buying things as Westerners. We have to change our buying habits to change other people's selling habits. We can't just say that if the market's there, we're going to do it. It takes more responsibility than that, everybody. What we need to do is to, you see the next time, Justin Bieber puts up a monkey selfie, say no, the next time you see a Khloe Kardashian monkey photo, say no. We don't need them making us have cute aggression and wanting these animals, because what we're doing is we're creating a thing where they take them from the wild to feed that. So I couldn't save that baby monkey. I couldn't help that baby monkey. I mean, the best I could do was I made a promise to myself to try to stop that in any way that I can. And there's a lot of amazing NGOs out there trying to stop it. Sorry, I get a little emotional when I think about that. So what we need to do is we need to remember that it's our buying habits that are doing this. If you're going overseas and you're taking pictures on elephants, you might not be thinking about it, but these elephants are getting beat at night. They're getting drugged for you to do it. If you go on a carriage ride around Central Park in New York, you are contributing to a horribly brutal system. If you go to SeaWorld, shame on you for multiple reasons. Have you not seen blackfish? I mean, look, in the 1700s, people were pretty simple. They saw a bear in the zoo, in a circus. They were just happy. Wow, that was amazing. And you never know. Maybe that sparked some imagination back in the day that led to advancements in conservation. But you have to remember now, we're at a point where animal exploitation has no place. Animal conservation does. And that's the fine line between finding how to make the best ecotourism. So before we wrap up, what I want to talk about a little bit now is how to make sure you're getting good ecotourism. So again, I'm going to put the links down there. There's a couple of resources you can go to, but take a look. And you know what else are great? Yelp reviews. Not only that, look, hotels have ecotourist attachments now as well. I've stayed in some amazing places in Cambodia, very forward-thinking places. Where I'm going to put some links down there that my friend runs. And what they had was amazing. Instead of giving you those little, just something simple like this, instead of giving you the little soap with the plasticky paper and a little thing of shampoo, they give you 2 dispensers, and they're refillable, and they're in the shower. And the amount of plastic waste eliminated right there is incredible. So we have to remember, when we talk about ecotourism, we talk about the places we go. Are you going to a real sanctuary? Chances are no, because they're having human interaction. They're having people gawk at them, and they're sitting in a little thing. That's not what animal sanctuaries do. That's not their purpose. Now, perhaps there are some that have limited amount and they have educational shows where you might be actually putting some money into good things. But again, I'm very much like our quote earlier today. I don't believe in the enslavement for any reason. Now, the propagation of a species is different than the enslavement of a species, and it comes back to a term called speciesism. Who are we to put, a monkey on display for the sake of saving them? And are we saving them for a lifetime of concrete death? Here's an example. There's a fish that's endangered called the paiche that we saw. They sell tons of in Peru, even though they're not supposed to be. So what they've done is they started selling it in Whole Foods. Whole Foods, everybody, Whole Foods. So this endangered animal, which is those giant, you ever see those guys holding those like 900-pound carp-looking fish in the Amazon? Those are paiche. Paiche now goes through Whole Foods, and what they've done is they say, well, look, we created sustainable things, and now the animal will stay forever. So there's a whole other argument to that. That's another example of, what are we thinking and how are we thinking? Are we thinking in terms of just that there are resources that we want to make sure are available that we can buy in a store? Or are we making sure that there are resources that are available that we can take our kids to? Those are two different resources. Buying a little flank of meat in the store is very different than the ability to drive through a place like a rhino sanctuary. So please don't misgive what we're saying there. Anyway, Jesse says, rules governing human behavior are at the heart of every system of natural resource management. Without compliance, however, rules are meaningless, so effective enforcement is essential. Jesse makes a great point. Very often, enforcement is one of the biggest issues. A lot of times the laws on the books are fine, but who's watching? I always talk about going to the Coast Guard in one of the towns in the Philippines, and they had one boat, and that boat had a hole in it, and it was on the beach, just waiting to get repaired one day, evidently. But this is what we're talking about. So there's not much enforcement there. Another unfortunate example is actually somebody who was going to be one of my guests, Richard Rasmussen. He, in turn, there's a whole controversy with him. I don't have the details, so I can't really speak much about it. But evidently, he racked up over $500,000 in fines while he was shooting his television show. He's kind of like the Steve Irwin in Brazil. Evidently, he was bringing animals back to a private breeding facility, and for whatever reason that ended up in $500,000 worth of fines, which were forgiven as he now works in Bolsonaro's cabinet, as I was reading. I don't know. I've spoken to Richard a few times for many years, and he's always struck me as a very passionate guy, but again, you don't know with these things. It's very difficult. Anyway, let's see. I want to see what everybody else has to say here, and then I want to show you guys, and we're going to talk about some solutions, and then head up. And by the way, it's very exciting. Episode 15. Who would have thought? There we'd be. So let's see. Natural resources are for sale. Governmental and environmental says we can. Camilla says pure evil. I've never imagined anything more hell-like. And yes, it's true. You do not want to see the unedited version. I guarantee you guys. There's a reason I didn't show you the awful truth of it, but I want you to know that behind every cute animal selfie is the absolute destruction and suffering of the environment, the very environment that most of these people are pretending to want to save, or maybe even wholeheartedly wanting to save. And again, we have to think of it as an unintended consequence. I'm 46. Most of us grew up going to circuses. I mean, we didn't know it was evil. I didn't know it was evil when I was younger. It's learning, we're all growing, and we're growing as a consciousness. And but the good thing about that is that now companies are forced to be more transparent. The bad thing about that is we get a lot of greenwashing. So it's very complicated, and we have to provide very good, clear ways to understand how these groups are going. So a few basic things to just keep in mind when you're thinking about, I want to go to visit these animals. First thing I would ask is, please don't go to a zoo. If a zoo happens to have a sanctuary area, they will probably have a foundation that you can directly, if you believe in that sanctuary's abilities, that you can directly send money to, okay? Don't go to zoos. Don't fund those. Even if you mean well, you are funding the exploitation of other animals that are in no danger whatsoever, but are still living lives unnatural, lives of unimaginable pain, suffering, and loneliness. There's no reason for that. And most of us don't want to do that. We want to go help animals. I've been to a lot of zoos. Again, it's something I never thought of. So we have to reframe our thinking. We always talk about re-educating the kids, but we need to re-educate us adults too, guys. Again, what was cool in the 1700s doesn't fly today, and that appeals almost on every level of society. Seriously, no matter how you think about it. So let's extend that same love outward, right? That's the whole idea. Be kind. Live through compassion and kindness. If you see anybody taking a selfie with a monkey, please speak up. Please say no. When you see animal videos where they're using iPhones and the monkey seems so clever and it's anthropomorphic, put up Jane Goodall quotes, put up other people. Jane Goodall is an amazing resource for monkey exploitation. There were things I thought was cute. I share on Facebook, cute aggression. Anyway, they're not. They're harmful. They're harmful because they propagate the wrong ideas. So, ecotourism begins in the mind. What are we sharing? What are we giving? What are we promoting? Who are we talking about? Do we need a cult of personality? I don't think so. I mean, there's recently become a lot of popular people in conservation, and that's not what conservation is about. It's behind the scenes work. It's about getting dirty. It's about not being able to hide. Like you guys saw me, I did a terrible job over there trying to hide while we were doing the video. But you know what? It's also about having heart. So as long as we're coming at it with heart and with love, then the intention will always follow through and things will go well. So education is the biggest thing in the world. Re-educating the kids to think that enslavement and captivity is not the way to go. Re-educating ourselves to understand that animals don't need to be at our fingertips. We don't need that. It might be better to let our imaginations be spurred. I mean, look at Jacques Cousteau, right? He blew everyone's mind by taking cameras underwater. I mean, incredible movies, by the way. Watch them now, though, and I mean, the guy was blowing up reefs. I mean, it was kind of messed up. I'm sorry, I know people are going to get mad about this, but the knowledge of his time was the knowledge of his time, and we have to remember that. It grows. We can't fall back. We have to always look forward. There's a Rasta expression that's perfect, and conservation and every other movement needs to remember this. And that expression is quite simply forward ever, backward never. All right? Forward ever, backward never. You've got to remember that because we are looking at a new era, a new time, a new way. Hello, hey Sylvia, hey Tamara, thanks for joining today. We're talking right now about ways to think about ecotourism. So, okay, first thing you do, like I said, Google it. We are so lucky. We live in this age where we have all the information we need. And there's peer reviews. Go to Yelp. Go check it out. For example, there's a terribly exploited dolphin in the zoo in Iquitos that should not be there. And he's a pink dolphin. They're endangered, critically endangered, and they're kept in terrible conditions. And there's no reason he should be there except for that loophole that we discussed earlier, where he was captured because they killed the parents earlier. And then they're allowed to take the babies and drop them off. And that baby ended up in a zoo. This is why this doesn't work. This loophole doesn't work. And you know what, Mitch, you're right. Mankind is not so kind. But at the same time, I do want to say that I think maybe we are. And the reason I say that is because, again, forward ever, backward never. Now, more has been changed through nonviolent struggle. More has been changed through peaceful revolution. More has been changed by nonviolent leaders than ever by the multitude of violent leaders. And you know what? We need to go around that. But the thing about it is just as there are unkind humans, for every 10 unkind humans, there's one kind human that equals that power. We are stronger because love is way more powerful than hate. Hate is way more maybe contagious, but love as well. And so that's, something that I think is very important to think about when we're talking about how to do this. Because, again, forget the zoos. If you're going to put some money into sanctuaries, go online and research them. Go to people you trust and ask them if they have a resource list of places that are willing to do it. Remember, there's all kinds of causes too. We all have our causes. We all have different causes that we want to go into, and there are directories and ways. So first one is going to be to consider supporting, if the way that you help is through donation or sharing information, make sure that the group you're part of and what they're sharing is always appropriate. Remember, there's no cults of personality. None of this is about individuals. It's all about speaking up for the animals. And all of us as activists may have moments where we don't consider every aspect, and we all need to learn and do that. And very often these activists that do things that, you know, may seem harmful at first, it's an accident. They don't think about it. You know, we have to draw the long bow. It's a big picture we need to pull out. You know, we can't look at life in these close-ups and nitpick everything. We need to look at wide shots and understand the consistency of people's approaches to making a change, because there are people that are out there that are going to make a change, and there are people that are out there that are looking to make money, just like the fake sanctuaries. There's greenwashing of personalities, whether it's animal rights or vegan or anything else. You want to know a real group? Direct Action Everywhere. They're doing selfies, but you know, again, it's not. They're not selfies. They're taking cameras into places that most people don't want to go, or afraid to go, and are afraid to look. And I always say this, but come on, we're all flashlights in the dark. So, you know, all of us have a passion, and all of us have access to a place. You know, something brought us to life and made us activists. Something alerted us. Something clicked on our minds. And it's our responsibility to share that with others. We can't expect people to just know that automatically, because you know what? We didn't know it before we realized it. So remember to be kind, keep the conversation alive, talk to other people, share what you know. Don't judge people for what they may or may not know yet. Give them an opportunity to learn and bring that information and build a bridge. You know, that's what we're doing here today, you know. So again, first part of ecotourism is in the mind. It's going through Google. It's figuring out, who are you standing up for? What are you standing up for? What is important to you? And how is that affecting the world around you? And what companies are helping you fight that back? And then you research the companies, you check them out, you go through, you know, go online. Look, you're going to find negative and positive reviews about everybody. But what you need to do is go find out how those reviews apply to what you're doing. Now, that's for groups and NGOs and cults of personality and all that good stuff. Again, I've had the fortune to work with a lot of direct action people, all of whom have been in the trenches. So, you know, I've also worked with some big organizations that made a bunch of money and just paid a bunch of board of directors really well. You know, there's that aspect. Now, I'm not saying board of directors means it's not a good company. What I'm saying is that you have to make sure that it's not a company that feeds itself. It's a company built of passion, company that does resource outreach. What's their plan? What's this company's plan? For example, fightforzero.org, they are out working to build environmentally sick database and work with lawmakers to advance change. You know, it's something people can get behind, and there's results. What are the results? That's the next phase. So first is, what's the approach? Who are they? What's the approach? Have they done things inconsistent? For example, are they taking monkey selfies and then saying don't exploit animals and making money while exploiting an animal? That's not cool. I don't care who you are. Hey, Carrie, nice to see you. Carrie's another awesome activist. Second thing, what kind of action result are you getting? There are a lot of groups and a lot of people out there doing a lot of things, and they're all called together by passion. And you have to remember that passion can only go so far. These groups do need funding. How do you fund them? It's very difficult. Go look for reviews, look for what they stand for, look for how accessible those people are, look for their results. So that's if you want to back up those of us that do conservation. Now, if you're going to go on vacation, where do you go? Again, I showed you that website earlier. You're going to want to go to that Conservation Global Sustainable Tourism Council. Okay, that's gstcouncil.org. I'll put it in the links, so you have permanent links here. You can go there. If you're going to go to Asia and you want to go help some animals somehow, again, I will put a link down there. I will show you ways where you can help donate to sanctuaries that you're not allowed to go touch the animals or see the animals, but your money will actually go to the animals, not just bloated overkeep of these sanctuaries that run public-facing things. Most sanctuaries are there to educate the next group of conservationists and scientists, and they're there to take care of the animals. So we have to remember that, it's not, unfortunately, it's not going to be the zoo. It's not going to be the visit. People have very conflicting views on going to see orcas and whales. My personal feeling is it's invasive. No matter how far the boats are supposed to stay back, what they'll do is they get closer because you'll get 3 boats and the captains will talk to each other, and each one wants their tourists to get the right photo. Listen, we live in a world of selfies and photos. It's not cutting it. It's not activism. If you're going to take your camera somewhere where most people don't have access, that's activism. Again, direct action everywhere, activism. So that's another thing to consider. Anyway, there's the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. As I've mentioned, every country has its own tourism and eco board that's considered legitimate by this Global Sustainable Tourism Council. They're the overseeing body that says, yeah, that company's legit. And then if that company's seal is on stuff, you're okay. Because some people just make up seals. They're like, we're the #1 eco bamboo spot in the Northwest, and none of it means anything. So self-made monikers are not going to cut it anymore, right? So again, remember, true sanctuaries for injured animals or orphaned babies generally will not have interactive encounters. Those harm animals, they stress animals, they're no good for animals. I would love to see a world where we no longer have any selfies except with our cats and dogs and stuff and our friends and our families. Monkeys aren't there for us to have selfies with, and neither are sloths. And these are not our entertainment resources. These are not here for any of these things, And again, I'm the first one that absolutely thinks sloth's the cutest thing in the world. Possum, I love every type of animal that I've ever seen. Like but it's not mine to go out and say, I want an interactive experience right now on demand. It's the world has changed, and we expect that now. That you can just go to the Serengeti, you can go to the Arctic, you can go to New Zealand, you can go anywhere you want. You go to Australia, go to the Outback, and you'll find companies, and you'll always find reputable ones, and you'll always find shady ones. So again, remember, if the animals were injured or supposedly saved, you should not be allowed to take photos with them. And if you are, it's not a good sanctuary. There's a sanctuary in the middle of Florida that's a very good sanctuary that takes in monkeys. It's called the Great Ape Sanctuary. It's in Hardy County in the middle of a bunch of mining. And it's absolutely insane. Mitch, I don't know if you're familiar with these guys, but they have Michael Jackson's monkey, Bubbles, there. And it's not open to the public. Occasionally, they'll do a private tour, but you don't go and feed the animals, guys. You stay far away. Now, again, don't get it confused. There are little rabbit parks, like in Japan. They're fine. When I was in Amsterdam, they have entire factories of stray cats, and they make tourism where you go and you buy some food and you put the food out and you pet the cats and everything's cool. Cats love it, people love it, and nobody's being exploited, nobody's getting hurt. It's actually enabling them to fund a way for these cats to have places to stay in the wintertime. And exactly, Camilla says it, don't blame yourself for not knowing what you knew before you knew it. So remember, guys, we're all learning little by little. Everything we grew up with, I'm 46, everything I grew up with has proven to be a little different than expected. As somebody that went to SeaWorld as a kid, somebody that went to zoos as a kid, my parents didn't know. They never once thought about it. They thought we were always helping animals by going there, and that is the story that's being told. And I'm saying we need to make sure we're very conscious of this. So I'm going to put some links down here. We're going to talk about, that will help you guys find out if ecotourism is real or not. And there are several amazing links to it. But the best thing you can do is research the place, research what kind of animals they're going for. Hey, Angela, it's good to see Angela there. Angela was in Cambodia with me. So yeah, we got Angela and I went to an amazing sanctuary where it's this beautiful concept. You go and you volunteer and you protect seahorses. And what this guy did is he found that seahorses, this guy Paul Ferber, hey Paul, I don't know if you're watching or not, and it's called Marine. Was it Marine MCC Marine Sanctuary Cambodia? I'll put the link down there. I feel so bad I'm forgetting right now. Stage fright. But what he did is he found an island in the middle of a marine protected area that was actually being exploited by fishermen, and created a sanctuary to give it legal rights. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. And they protect seahorses. And it's the real deal. And any money you give to them will go to them. So again, we got to remember, you know, there are aspects of tourism that are very helpful. There are ways to help animals. Going to zoos is definitely not one of them. If the zoo does have a program that helps, donate to that if you want. But there are other places, and there are places that save animals that you can go. Oh my gosh, hey Norm. Norm, it's good to see you. Norm and I worked a long time back ago in Hollywood. Yeah, good guy. I'm glad you're joining us today, Norm. So if you are on my Facebook, I was not able to get my podcast to attach. So some of the video you're seeing, you're like, why is he talking there? I'm actually on YouTube, and if you go to my link, you can go to my YouTube and watch it there. You'll see all the comments on the screen and everything. But guys, if you do write comments on the screen, it will show up. So please feel free to join in. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. You know, the dangers of fake ecotourism and the importance of spending your dollar because it comes from your heart. And I think that most of us just want to spend money in ways that are helpful. I mean, we're all cautious, you know. We have an amazing awakening going on amongst all of us. And we are all conscious. And not only that, but money's really hard to come by. Everybody works really hard. And when you're going to spend it, you want to make sure that you're doing good and not harm. You know, you want to make sure that you're exciting your kids' imagination. I have a friend, Wilson McCourtney, who's an amazing documentary filmmaker, and he does a lot of nature stuff. And he takes his kids out when they go shooting, you know, documentary, and a lot of it's long lens and far away. But he's in a natural environment, and he's allowing nature to come to him as it wants. Again, it's not nature on demand. We have to get rid of that thinking. You know, the world's not our grocery store. You don't just go and pick the thing you want right then. You know, Amazon.com, it's not that way, guys. There are parts of nature we'll never see with our own eyes. That's okay. Let it be. Let it have its own world. We don't need everything. We don't need to know everything. We don't need to see everything. If one quiet guy with a camera can go do no harm and bring us some amazing images, let that become our new norm to spurn our imagination. But let's be cautious. Let's know that every dollar we spend, hey Sherry, every dollar we spend, let's make sure we're spending it on people, causes, hotels, or destinations that are good eco destinations. And I'm not talking about entire countries. You know, people are upset with Japan for whaling, and they're like, you know, boycott the Olympics. I guess that's one way to look at it. But you know, at the same time, there are a lot of companies inside of there that are fighting to change laws and to help things. So we don't want to think of it in broad strokes. We need to think of it in specifics and exacts. I've always said we need a forensic. You know, they always get them in like divorces and stuff. You need a forensic accountant, and it would be great to be able to put groups under that kind of pressure. But again, look at the group, see what the group's doing, see what the group's offering. Sherry's a great example. This is a clean water group. Sherry, you can put the link up, please. I would love for people to go check it out. This is a group that's taking money in and affecting laws and trying to get laws changed. Same with direct action everywhere. My friend Priya is busy. They take their cameras into slaughterhouses and places and physically put their bodies in the way and stop things from happening. That young girl that went into Amazon and glued her hand to the desk. You know, this is what we have, guys. These are our cameras. You know, normally what used to get us in trouble, that used to get us quieted down, They haven't figured out how to filter us yet. And they figured out how to filter our links. On Facebook, I've been censored multiple times. They figured out how to censor our content, but no one knows how to censor our live video yet. So we're going to run with that. But again, I just wanted to bring up, ecotourism. Be careful you're not falling for something that's been greenwashed. A complicated one is hemp plastic, for example. I think it's a great idea. At the same time, it still involves polymers and plastics. Recently, there was a thing in Florida where they were trying to repopulate the oyster population, and they started to put out plastic reefs, which I think is problematic because the plastics will turn into microplastics, which will then poison every bit of the food chain. And instead, they could have used natural things. But here's the thing: is if you start using natural elements, there's no money in it, and there are people that are trying to make money on conservation, and there are people that are just trying to do conservation. That's another thing to be careful of. How big is this organization? Are they on the red carpets? What's happening? Are they in the field or are they on talk shows? Sherry is a great example. Yes, Sherry says clean water now. Facebook, CWN 2019. Guys, it's amazing, by the way. It's a legal movement. Just like our quote earlier today, just like Gary's quote, Gary Francione, and again, if you guys don't know him, look him up. I'm going to put a link to him, but he's the one that fights for equality for all animals. And what Clean Water Now is doing is they're part of a movement that's nationwide, is trying to get rights for the environment as people. Pretty awesome. So, throwing that out there. So again, there's many levels, everybody. There's groups, there are NGOs, there are conversation groups on Facebook, there's everybody. But keep your eyes open for consistencies. Don't be afraid to call out a group or a cult of personality or somebody, because you know what? Maybe they're learning. And there's so many aspects, and that's why we need to all talk, because we all are focused on a different aspect, and some of us don't think about different aspects until we're confronted with them, and we learn and we grow. So let's find these types of behaviors as fantastic examples, like Shed Aquarium. Look, you just can't, there's no excusing that, okay? You can't go hang out with belugas in captivity and give them high fives, I'm sorry. But you didn't know that. You thought it was a sincere group. I'm not saying it was an intentional thing. What I'm saying is we need, especially those of us that talk about conservation a lot or try to put together programs or try to help, especially ones that are educating kids, ones that have attention because kids are watching us. We need to make sure that our actions are consistent from the foundation all the way to the end. We need to walk our walk, okay? Yes, Joanna, yes. I haven't really brought the full topic up. I don't want it to necessarily become a thing, but it is a great example of, and again, listen, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and just say that he was under the impression that it was an okay thing and didn't take the time to research it. But you know what? All of us that talk about this, we all need to research it because we're all living examples to our kids. Whether you are a teacher or, just a guy that's friends with people, around the block, or, somebody who works the restaurant, whatever you are, whoever you are, everyone you meet, you affect. My dad used to always say that we are a collection of everybody that we've met in our lives. And I think that's, that's very true. And that's where this comes in, everybody. This is what's so important, is talking this way. So we can all learn. And if you guys want to learn more about, what's Joanna talking about, you can go check it out. Oh, Sherry, thank you. I just try to do it. Listen, I'm always just talking about the animals. And again, that's why I'm not here trying to point fingers at activists. I'm just saying we have to remember that we are the examples for our kids. Here's Scott Wilson. Hey, Scott, thanks for joining us. We've been talking about responsible ecotourism and how to tell when things have been greenwashed. Remember, everybody, the term greenwash is amazing when they make you think that it's something environmental and it's not. There are masters of greenwashing. They're usually the bad guys. So see how hard the sell is. Now, Scott Wilson is an incredible activist, and Scott Wilson is a very passionate man whose work is being censored on Facebook. You can't find his links on Facebook. anglersvoice.weebly.com. Please go there. Go see what it's like to be somebody that stands up against a giant, because he, along with a small group of activists, have just simply wielded the sword of truth and have cut down a big giant and made a huge impact. And we have to remember that, everybody. I always say this, and you know, we can, Mitch, you were talking about it before, but listen, we work in an industry, right? Conservation. Well, I guess none of us really work in it, and it's not an industry. Let's start over. Conservation in our minds is something that we all find it's very difficult, because we're looking at the problems we want to fix. But we cannot get stuck in the mindset of letting the problems control how we view the world. We have to remember, just as much as we've created all these problems through necessity, through accident, through whatever, you know, that time has all changed. We now have new opportunities. You know, the way that we envision ourselves is like we're frontiers people. We're not. You know, we live in cities. Everything's modernized. We need to reconsider what's happening here. And in conservation, we need to remember that we are not powerless. We have the power. I always say this. We are the sliding scale of morality between economy, you know, business, and the environment. What we allow is what they will take and what they will do. What we buy is what they will grab. We have the power. We are 99.9% of the world. And with the internet, that's a lot of us, right? I mean, we're really, really seriously here. You know, Joanna, you bring up a good point. Wow, okay. I didn't even know that there had a poor record of beluga deaths for that shed aquarium, who I also reached out to. They didn't come back. Hey, Susan, another friend that I grew up with. Nice to see you, Susan. And hi, Anna. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, Lola. It's good to see you on here. You're always, I know, very, very much a strong activist. And so, you know, guys, if you're joining me on Facebook, they won't allow me to do my videos. So you have to go watch them on my YouTube channel, which the link is above. Trying to get to 100 subscribers anyway, and we're going to do a special giveaway when I hit 100 subscribers, everybody. So please go to my YouTube anyway. But we're talking about ecotourism. Look, ecotourism is wrought with confusion. It's wrought with greenwashing. It's very difficult. I will put these links down right away on the show, and if you have links that are helpful, please put them down as well, because we want people to know what's happening. Very helpful. Yelp. People are not afraid to give their opinion. Go look on there and go see how these people have been treated. If you're curious if an aquarium is good, go to, you know, a variety of groups. You know, go look at it. Look, we all know Rick O'Berry has worked very hard for dolphins. Go to his group and see what links he has. Start with sources you trust. Start with sources you trust and work outward. Remember, we all have Google. We can all do it. I have access to research. If you guys have question marks, let me know. Hit me up. Give me a call. Send me an email. Send me a message. You guys all know how to reach me. You can always reach me through Facebook. You can always email me, ericecrown@protonmail.com. Anything I can do to help. Mitch says we must grow the economy and stop building the economy. That is an excellent point. We need to allow it to come back in. And, you know, this is the difficult part is how, you know, because ecotourism is so popular, how do you know that you're giving your dollars to people that are making a difference? And it's really complicated. If you're just joining, you can go back and watch the video on YouTube and you'll see some of the ways that we do that. Camilla says, is there any place on the planet that we don't seem to want to exploit? Very good question. Look at what's happening to the Amazon as they're opening it for business right now in Brazil. Absolutely insane. Another example of true conservation is when you think of the tribes that are in Brazil. Okay, there's a group of tribes that nobody has had contact with, and they want it that way. They don't want any contact with anybody. I reached out and said I would be curious to at least try to have some kind of information from them. And they were like, no, they don't want anything. So, we have this kind of issue where sometimes, it's best this way. It's best. Like I said, we don't need the world to be our Amazon.com. Not everything needs to be at our fingertips. We need to be told no sometimes. And again, I think that sometimes when it comes to certain wild animals, we need to leave it to the professionals. Let the guys at Nat Geo get us some amazing footage and bring it back and spur our imagination. We had a lot more love for the earth, and then we lost all of our information on it, and we live in cities and we live in concrete boxes and we're not in touch with it. And that, if you think about it, mostly that is how we live, is through these remote documentaries, Our Planet, BBC, David Attenborough. I mean, there's so many amazing things happening. So, we want the same thing. We want to keep the same kind of understanding when we go out. So, again, the biggest alerts, if you're going to a fake ecotourism place, is that they're going to let you touch the animals. If they're letting you touch the animals, I'm sorry, but I do not believe it is a real sanctuary. Most of them don't even allow access. You can donate to them online. Be careful. Anytime you see an animal selfie, please speak up. Try to educate the person taking it. They're probably not a bad person. They just think the animals are super cute, and they are. They are. Look, knowing that I'll never get to hold like a little monkey, sure, it puts like an empty spot in my heart, like I would love that. But like the monkey on the tree, look at the fear and look at the abject terror that these animals go through before they are calmed and put into a state where they're allowed to interact with people. Remember that the tigers are drugged. Remember there are crocodile farms people go to. They have monkeys. I'm sure you guys have seen these stories. They have monkeys that are chained, and they have monkeys that have to box each other in Thailand. There's a lot of bizarre animal exploitation. And, we have to remember that if people weren't paying for it, they wouldn't be doing it. So don't get mad always at the low-hanging fruit, the people that are just trying to survive. They'll probably have some kids that don't do anything. They're not the ones exploring. They're not the ones conquering. They're not the ones selling. They're not the ones exploiting. They're the ones surviving in a market of exploitation. Let's change that market from exploitation to compassion. That's a bigger scale thing. It takes a long time to rethink that way, but it's starting. It's starting. And remember, guys, we are that market. So it's just us, right? I mean, and look, conservation conversation. Obviously, we don't want to preach, but anytime you're with friends, you have a moment to bring up a conversation. Let it happen. You see an animal selfie. You see somebody even saying, I want to go to SeaWorld. I want to release doves at my wedding. You hear these things, you need to speak up and use it not as a moment to shame or make it a problem, but as a moment to educate. And the more we can educate people, the better chances our animals have of surviving. Let's shut down these horrible interactive places. We don't need any of them. A beluga does not need to live in Chicago. They need to live where they should be living. They shouldn't be around humans. It's not our job to save them. All we do is destroy them. If there's a few left, they'll do it on their own. Great examples, the orange ruffy fish. The orange ruffy fish became very popular fish because they grew to 200 years old. So these fishermen were like, whoa, and again, not regular fishermen, big commercial fishermen. 200 pounds, a 200-year-old orange ruffy is going to make you a lot of money with one fish. So it's a lot of money for them. So the orange ruffy almost became extinct, and then it got protection, and it lives very deep. So, you got to really go out of your way to catch this fish. Without us touching it, the orange ruffy has bounced back. Nature will bounce back. Kaylin said it on our last conservation conversation. The earth will bounce back. The question is, how can we keep ourselves doing this? So we want to keep it here. I'm going to release an orchid at my wedding, Jesse. Okay, now Jesse's funny. You guys got to know Jesse's very, very funny guy. But he also works with a lot of the tribes and trying to solve the orca issues up in Washington State. There's a lot of problems, and a lot of the indigenous are having issues with salmon. Basically, what's happening is a lot of commercial salmon fishing is going on, and it is choking out and starving the orcas. And we saw the death of the orca baby last year, and that really brought everyone's attention to it. But anyway, Jesse brought that up because Jesse fights very hard for orcas. Yes, so release an orca at the wedding. I like it. But anyway, guys, I want to talk about that. And I know, look, education is important, and there's a lot of interaction with education. People take animals to schools. Again, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about endangered, injured, orphaned animals that should live in the wild, animals that can live in the wild. The argument of rehabilitation is bogus. Rick O'Barry proved that. Animals that are injured in the wild can be rehabilitated and learn how to survive out in the wild again. And I can't say that enough. The theory that they cannot be rehabilitated and released is proven to be incorrect. Rick O'Barry talks about it. Again, the man himself. He's a dolphin trainer, learned the error of his ways. If you guys saw Blackfish, if you haven't, go watch it. If you haven't seen The Cove, go watch it. The Cove was one of the documentaries that, that's another one of those things that changed my world forever. Go watch it. Rick O'Barry talking about rehabilitation and release is possible. So remember, they don't need us. They don't need us. They might medically need a little bit of help. And if we have some vets or some doctors, fantastic. Put them in the sanctuary, heal them, let them go. Some of the breeding facilities I saw in Peru were just absolutely heartbreaking. We saw panthers, and they were kept in small concrete boxes, and they just paced. Bears, they just pace back and forth when they're upset. Elephants pace back and forth when they're upset. We have to remember that when we're there, we're observing these behaviors as well. Oh, shit. Sorry. So, anyway. Okay, so there we go. Thank you all for joining today. I just wanted to say today was a very... sorry, one second. Okay. Here we go. The cats like to open and shut the door as I'm doing the show. So there we go. That's what all that was. Anyway, so what I just wanted to say was thank you, everybody, for joining. Today's been a very important topic. I'm going to put links that will give you ways to look at where real ecotourism is, because it does exist. But you have to be really cautious. You have to make sure that you're spending your dollars on ways that help the animals, not hurt the animals. And that is the most important thing. A lot of what appears to be ecotourism might be greenwashed. So we did go over quite a few things today. Again, a few basics. If it's an organization or a person, do they stop? Do they help? What are they giving back to the community? What have they recognized as the problem and are offering a solution for? Very important. Number two, what kind of reviews do they have? Number three, are they looking for donations? Number four, well, actually the very top one, number 0, I guess we can call it, should have been, do they allow interactions? If you're getting a selfie with an animal, I'm sorry, but that is going to be not a true sanctuary, and you will be stressing the animals out, hurting them more than helping them, even if it's unintended. Remember, we got to always remember our actions are the little rock in the pond, and there's always the unintended consequences and ripples. So I don't think people do it in a cruel fashion, but I do think that there are unintended cruelties that we need to understand and think about. So, hey, John, it's good to see you. John's another friend. John and I, we'll go back in the day. We were camera guys together. I don't know if we're talking about it, but John, good to see you. And Garrett, hey, Garrett, nice to see you on here too. Garrett knows a lot about the natural ecotourism, and Garrett's an organic farmer and has a lot of understanding of how the land works and how nature works. And Garrett has like an interactive, tons of animals. I always love his posts because it's just like, wow, what is this? And you see the coolest stuff. So he knows how to let nature be nature and protect it without interfering in it. So, that's why we're all here, right? We all love nature. We all want to protect it without interfering with it. We want to see it preserved. Some of us want to do it for our kids. Some of us want to do it for our grandkids. Some of us want to do it for our unborn children. Some of us just want to do it for the animals. It doesn't matter because we're all together, and we have to remember, I always say this, we are the sliding scale of morality between corporate exploitation and nature. So what we allow is what they will take and what they will do. The longer that we like gold and we think bling is important, the longer we're going to have, mercury poisoning, exploitation throughout the Amazon, labor exploitation, child work labor issues, you name it. We have to remember that the wealth of the West is generally made off the backs of the poor. So think about it and remember that, like Sherry says, it is time for nature to have rights, and that's true. And, it begins here. How do we think about it? What are animals, and what are they? Are they our resource? Are we part of them? Are we all part of nature? These are important questions, and I think it's important. And thank you everybody for being here today, because this just shows me, and we had a huge audience. This has been beautiful because we've been talking today about animal exploitation for profit. We don't want people in conservation movement profiting off animal exploitation. We want the people to hold consistent throughout the whole process. We want to make sure that where we go for our vacations is good and ecotourism. We want to make sure that we're not causing additional stress or issues for the animals when we're going out there. And again, I'm sorry, but we need to stop this selfie culture of finding the animals, unless it's your dog or your cat or your ferret or whoever's part of your little island there. That's great, but we want to stop. We don't need pictures with dolphins. You want to see a dolphin, just get on a boat. It's amazing. Every time you're on a boat, they come next to you. It's absolutely incredible. Watching them cry and play basketball is absurd. We don't need that. Nobody needs that. It's demeaning in every sense. And it's the stupidest thing. Bears with little hats, monkey, organ grinder. These are all older venues of animal exploitation that were fine when people were uneducated and kind of simpler, a couple hundred years ago. But with the advances that we know, the things we understand, the empathy we now have for all the creatures, we need to make sure that we are not condemning them to this life of horror because we accidentally are trying to help them. So important. Like I said, always double check. I'll put a couple links down here that'll help you guys, whether you're going on vacation, whether you want to donate a little bit of money to help out causes, whether you're thinking about going to a zoo, what's that zoo's background, are they taking animals out, where's good reputable sources. Remember, start with people you trust, because most of those groups or those activists, whether it's just a guy with an Instagram account or it's an actual full-on NGO, they will have they're going to always have ways for you to get involved and for you to help, and not just to help them. If the only way they're going to let you get involved is to help them, that is not what we need. They're going to offer you ways to turn on your abilities to do things with them, without them, whatever. They just want to see the world change. So, remember that. That's a really important part. And they're going to offer you links, and they're going to be able to offer you areas. And if you can't or you don't know, send out some emails. Be in direct contact. We are all part of this same group, and all of us are trying to do the same thing, and we're all trying to live in our own, with our own conscience, and in a way that we feel is good for us and good for nature. So, everybody has a very good intention with this. So we just need to make sure that we are following it up with putting our dollars where we are not harming any animals, only helping them. Brings me to next week's show, which I'm very excited about. We're going to go back to plastics. We talked about plastics before. This week, we're going to talk about alternatives to plastics on every aspect of life. We're going to go to a store called No Tox Life, and I'm going to show you guys a very interesting place. It's based here in Los Angeles. You can still get it online, and there are other stores that are similar to it all throughout the country. And we're going to talk about plastic alternatives, because plastic is the long-term injury of the animal. We're talking today about ecotourism and things, but plastics always comes back into it. Remember, plastics can kill animals for hundreds of years. So whether we're talking about sanctuaries, we're talking about, every group that thinks that they're able to help animals. And I always bring this back to the vegans as well. These movements are the movements that are conscious, cannabis industry. These are all groups that have open-minded people that would like to see some change, but inundated with plastic. Why? Because we're not demanding that it isn't. We need to take what we're doing and start to, I think, make that switch. It used to be that we would allow politicians and lobbyists and other people, celebrities, to take over and run the ship. That's gone. We have social media. We're all running the ship now. All of our voices count. So please keep that in mind, and remember that everything you do has unintended consequences. Your rock has ripples, so act out of love, act out of kindness, and they'll always ripple out in that fashion. And again, if you guys have any other links for ecotourism, please pop them down there. I'm going to go put a few on right now. If you have any questions, feel free to email me as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining me again. This has been amazing. I've loved all this different interaction. Looper Loop says reusable straws. Yes, I am a huge fan of reusable straws. Personally, I really like bamboo. Other people use silicone. Other people use stainless steel straws because they're completely, you can't get any kind of bacteria on them. So these are great. These are great options. What's maddening about plastic is when you see a fact like, okay, every piece of plastic ever made is still here, right? Like, what are we doing? So aside from maybe medical necessity pieces, why are we still making plastic? I mean, I feel like we've allowed all of our sensibility to disappear so that people could just keep making plastic. Like, we don't really need it. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. We're going to talk about it more tomorrow. In order to help save the animals, we have to think about it on many, many levels, and just always remember to be mindful of them. Please don't go to areas that exploit them for entertainment. There's better ways to show your kids cool stuff than circuses, and probably make more memories anyway. So let's try our best to avoid them. Try our best to avoid interactive animal things. If you're paying $100 to have an endangered beluga carry a plastic happy birthday thing in its mouth, that's maybe a good teaching moment. A good time to find a thing there. Now, didn't they find an organism that can break down plastics? Looper, that's a fascinating, I don't know if that's really Looper Loop. Fascinating topic. We're going to go into it more tomorrow, but the basic answer is no. Basic answer is no. Yeah, exactly. Computers, cell phones, reusable straws. Now, the problem with plastics is that there's nothing that can actually break down the polymers that create plastic. It's basically like a cocktail of toxins that are established together. The biggest problem, and this is going to sound crazy, if it's not compostable, then it is, if it's compostable, it means that it'll just go right back into the earth. If it's recyclable, it means that it's only going to do that under certain conditions, which include adding new microbials and adding heat to it. Now, the problem is that, yeah, when they find organisms that break down plastics, it's not good either, because what'll happen is they'll turn into microplastics, and what those do is those just float, and plankton attaches to them because they have a rough surface. So now you got a microplastic and it's got plankton, and then you got a jellyfish. It's like nice, right? And then now you got microplastics inside a jellyfish, and then it gets eaten by a bigger fish or a turtle or a doll or whatever. Next thing you know, it's biomagnification has taken that little microplastic and turned the toxins 10, 100 times bigger than where it started. And very often, those microplastics end up back in our systems. They have found microplastics in every human body. So plastic's very difficult topic. And, we can't avoid it. I mean, look, we live in a plastic world. So this is why we have to find solutions to where we can find ways to avoid plastic. If anybody has a way that they know about toothpaste that doesn't have plastic, please tell me, because this is my big driving me nuts one. Like, glasses, everything. Hey, Heather. Hey, Bruce. Welcome. Glad to see you guys. Yes, Weekend says people throw their solo cups in the bonfire. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I know, right? This is the thing. This is why we can't have nice things. We need to address the problem at the source. Scott Wilson said it. Kenny Hinkle said it. They're considered what are called upstream solutions. And we need to stop them at the source. Toothpaste. Some toothpastes have microplastics in them. Yes, there is a website called Beat the Bead. And if you go to Beat the Bead, you'll find that Colgate and others actually use microplastics that are very dangerous inside of their toothpaste. And they also make the tubing out of it. So yeah, but they're also inside of it. Go to Beat the Bead and you'll learn about the craziest places that you're going to find microbeads that you didn't even think about. And that includes in your toothpaste and in other things, face wash, soaps, everything. So plastics are everywhere. So yeah. So anyway, that is a very long-term way that we can all save the animals, is by finding any kind of ways that we can stop plastic use and plastic ingestion. 1, for your health, 2, for the animals, 3, for the environment. It's a triple one. So what the toothpaste that I use is, I've mostly been using, it's actually, I have to go find it, but it's a friend of mine gave it to me, and it's wood from a tree bark in Africa. It requires no toothpaste, and you clean your teeth with it. Show you guys my grill. Not the best teeth in the world, but anyway, it works, and and then I try to look for things. If I'm going to buy something in a tube, I will look for something that doesn't have phosphate. You do not want phosphate in your body. I am trying to find things that are not tested on animals, that are cruelty free, which is another topic we're going to get into in January. We have an amazing episode coming up on that. The other thing I try to avoid is any form of aluminum and any form of microplastic. Which again, if you go to Beat the Bead, you're going to want to avoid that. But yeah, the gift that he gave me is amazing, and I like to use that. And that's how a lot of people do it. I mean, even toothpaste itself is not actually a necessity, as I learned. There are other natural ways to clean your teeth. So, but anyway, I can't wait. I'll get into that. And please, if you guys have ways that you fight back against plastics or natural ways that you use, I want to know all about it. Heather says use an herbal tooth powder. Ooh, that sounds good. Uncle Harry's has an essential oil mix for tooth and gum. That sounds delicious. So Heather says, yeah, herbal tooth powder, Uncle Harry's. I'm going to go check that out. The question is, does it have a plastic container, Heather, or is it going to be okay for somebody who's kind of tries? I mean, look, we try, but I mean, come on, everybody. We do live in modern society. We can only stop our thing. But before we go, let's remember that too, okay? It's up to us to change our buying habits. It's not necessarily up to us if we recycle all the time, we are not going to fix the plastic problem. We need to demand to stop using plastic. Look, I'm vegan. I like Daiya cheese. It comes in plastic. Shame on you, Daiya. You know, every time I open one of those containers, what's it going to do? It's going to go kill an animal somewhere down the road. So we need to get away from this. You know, there's never been a more important or a better time for us to move forward. We're filled with a lot of fascinating things. And, you know, one great one is hemp. You know, hemp does a lot of amazing stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of other type of things that they're coming up with. But we just want to be careful of polymers. You know, anything that we're still using a polymer is not going to break down. So if you guys are looking to buy stuff, look for compostable. If it's compostable, you can just throw it in. It will naturally biodegrade and go right back into the system. If it's recyclable, it will not. It requires microbials, specific conditions, and half the time it gets shipped to an Asian country, and then they have an over amount of it, and then we all look at them and say, look at they're putting all the plastic in the world, and it's incorrect. It's actually very incorrect. We make the majority of the plastic in the world. America thinks it doesn't do it. We produce the majority of the plastic. Tons of it gets spilled in these things called nurdles as they're traveling to their destinations. We take our plastics, we ship them to overseas, to lots of Asian countries that are overrun with plastics, more than their infrastructure can handle. Some of it does come back out, you know, and we characterize it as these people just throwing plastic everywhere, and that's absolutely absurd. It's actually so incorrect. It's kind of born in a bit of racism, and we need to rethink all that. That's not very true. And I was over there and I saw a lot of plastic, believe me, but it's not because everyone was just like and throwing stuff in the gutter. That's not what it's about. So if you go back to our plastic episode, actually, you can see we have some graphs about us being the #1 makers of plastic, although we're not always the #1 polluters when it gets down the final line. That's because we don't ingest our own waste plastic like that. I agree. So we need to invest in the science of reuse. Absolutely. You know, before plastic came around, we had a perfect system. I was talking to my mom about it today, actually. You know, back in the day, you had a glass bottle. You brought it back, you get a little discount on your next bottle, right? That was a good thing. Now you go and you buy a plastic bottle and they charge you a CRV. It's not like you get it back. You know, maybe you go recycle it, you'll get it back or something. But we had a perfectly good system. The only reason we moved to plastics was because companies wanted to shift us to cheaper products. So, you know, you can't always avoid it, but remember, most plastic alternatives are just cheap alternatives. If you can avoid plastic bags at the grocery store, a great place to start. You know, don't do it. Don't do it. Exactly. You know what? Keep your cell phones. You know, those are a tremendous use of plastic. Why can't we make tires out of used tires? You know what they do? They have recycled tires. That's one of the best way to go. They have very expensive vegan tires, but you're still going to be adding some rubber material. So I'm a fan of reusable, recyclable tires. I know they don't sound good to people, but they're just as strong, and it's important. And would you believe that they take tires and they go throw them in the ocean? They throw them in the ocean to make fake reefs. Obviously, that's a terrible idea, and it's obviously proving to be a terrible idea, and they now realize they have to clean it up. So they threw a bunch of toxic stuff in the middle of the water. Anyway, oh, hey, Beth, another friend from up there in the Pacific Northwest. Good to see you. Somebody else that spends a lot of time focused on health and the environment, spends a lot of time in the environment. Heather says, unfortunately, it does come in plastic, but the bottle is recyclable. Essential oils in the glass bottle, which is fantastic. I'm all about bottles. Uncle Harry's local, Seattle area, comes into health food store. My mom runs. Fantastic. So see, and that's the best way. You know, you get to these smaller companies and you can believe in what they're doing. So, but again, next week we're going to hit this plastics again. I'm going to take you guys to No Tox Life, and we are going to talk about all kinds of amazing, not amazing. Whew, I cannot speak today, everybody. Oh no, I'm so sorry that you're getting anxiety. I see that. But you know, the thing is you got to remember that you have the answer to it. We have ways around it. You know, it's not unstoppable. That's the thing is a lot of times in conservation, we're made to feel like we don't have any power, but everybody has to remember that we have all the power. So it's not actually, here's the thing, is companies as they run are creating problems. We have the solutions. And what I'm referring to is if you're not on YouTube, you can't see this comment, but this comment comes and it says, this conversation is giving anxiety, exact opposite of what I was looking for when I searched out the conversation. So, delay, I'm not sure. I'm not on YouTube. But the thing about it is we have to remember we are the answer. We hold all the power. What we buy is what they will make. So if we keep buying plastics, they're going to keep making plastics. Just that simple. Businesses don't care. They're not supposed to care. Capitalism is not based on caring. It's based on profit. So they don't care. All they care about is what we want. So we have to remember, we hold the cards. We are the answer. Our changes in the way that we think, the way that we see, the way that we educate, the way we re-educate ourselves, these are the changes that create a more sustainable future. So the world's not going to be screwed. We have every power to fight back, just like everything. You know, it's what we, in conservation, it's what we call a hope spot. You know, and that's another thing. When it comes to ecotourism, remember, if there's a hope spot, it's really critical. You want a place that is going to offer you the most amount of ability to help. Remember that within every difficult situation, there's an answer, and we are that answer. How do we work it? That's up to, you know, some NGOs show us that, some groups show us that, some shows will show us that. So I absolutely agree, Mitch. Our power is in our numbers. Fantastic. So anyway, everybody, I wanted to thank you all for joining me. Remember, ecotourism, spend your dollars in a fantastic way. Don't go to zoos. Don't go to interactive animal exhibits. If you're going to do it, do ones where, you know, you can find out if they're confirmed ecotours. And just remember, you don't need to touch wild animals. You're going to stress them out. We can appreciate them from far back. It's not, the world is not ours to just pick up off the shelf whenever we feel like it. Nature is special and it's amazing, and it's a place we should go and integrate into instead of forcing it to integrate into us. So thanks again for joining, everybody. This has been a really fun week. Remember, it's our world. Let's talk about it. I'll see you all next week for another amazing episode. I can't wait. We're going to talk about plastics, how we can all become these eco Roombas and change the world in our day-to-day routine positively. All right. Thank you guys so much. Please add some more comments. I'm going to throw some more links in. And I look forward to talking to you more. Another amazing conversation. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Everybody, you know, enjoy your day. Be safe. Happy Sunday. Remember, like I always say, it's our world. Let's talk about it. See you next week.